Hey there, welcome to another episode of The Cheat Sheets. I'm a qualified personal trainer, and a couple of months ago, I decided to see what a GPT would suggest for my workout program. Today, I'm going to show you one of the upper body workouts it came up with, along with what I would change to save time and maximize muscle growth, and how to make the most of the rest periods between sets to improve mobility and prevent injury. If you sit at a desk all day or spend a lot of time tapping away on your phone, you're going to want to see these. Now, if you're joining from what you saw on my TikTok video already, you can go ahead and skip to this time code to avoid the repetition. Otherwise, let me catch you up. So to create this workout, I jumped on the GPT Fitness Workout and Diet PhD Coach by New Gen PhD. I plugged in all my strength goals for 6 months' time, along with my age and my sex at birth. So here we're starting off with my absolute favorite exercise, the bench press. My goal for the end of this year is to hit a 1 rep max of 80 kilos, and I'm sitting at about 60 or 65 at the moment, so it's a stretch goal for sure. After a few warm-up sets, I'm starting my first working set at 5 reps of 45 kilos, which is about 70% of my 1 rep max. This was feeling pretty easy for me today, so I decided to bump it up to 47.5 while still wanting to hit that 5 reps per set, which is taking me more towards 75% of my 1 rep max. The AI tool suggested a total of 4 sets with 5 reps each during this intensification phase of my program, which is what I'm trying to complete here. During my first compound exercise, I like to do most of my active rest work. So here we have an exercise that is great for improving shoulder extension and reduces the risk of shoulder injuries whilst increasing your overall upper body strength. It can help with your rows, pull-ups, bench presses, dips, and overhead lifts. Next, it's time for 3 sets of the incline dumbbell press. Now, this is interesting because usually I would be tempted to superset this with an incline dumbbell row or maybe a pendlay row, but the GPT suggests everything for today in single sets, so that's what we're going to do here. 16 kilos in the dumbbells, and not a bad exercise to follow the bench press to get the muscles in the shoulders working a little as well. Another active rest exercise you can do is this one here, which helps with the internal and external rotation of the shoulder, which is crucial for strengthening the rotator cuff muscles. A physio showed me this after I started experiencing a lot of pain in my right shoulder, as well as a little on my left. It was weakening my press in particular, but this exercise will help to stabilize the shoulder during loads of upper body exercises. And if you're someone who experiences rounded shoulders, this is going to help you have a more upright and open chest posture. So it's really interesting what this GPT decides to get me to do next. And to be honest, I can kind of understand the logic behind it. But essentially, it sends me over to the assisted chin dip machine for a neutral grip chin-up progression. One of my other main upper body goals is to be able to do 8 linked unassisted chin-ups. Now, this is a long-term goal, and as you can probably see, like a lot of AFABs out there, most of my muscle and weight is in the lower half of my body. So chin-ups and pull-ups are particularly challenging. When I was doing the accumulation phase of this program, this particular workout session had a tricep chin-up progression, which meant there were 3 sets of 3 exercises performed back-to-back. This consisted of assisted neutral grip chin-ups, then negative neutral grip chin-ups, then lat pull-downs. I didn't love this, and as I don't have all day to exercise, what I would usually do is pick 2 of these exercises to superset. Now that I'm in an intensification phase, the goal is to increase the intensity of the exercise, focusing more on load increase rather than volume, or the number of reps I do. So I'm going to play around with this. So in the first step, I just focused on getting a total of 8 to 10 reps in from exhausting the negatives and then exhausting the assists back to back. What I found was the negatives were actually a lot easier for me than the assists, so I thought I'd try reversing them in the second set, and yep, this was great. Generally, we want to start with the hardest exercise first, and then when we can't do this anymore, we can do a drop set or regress the exercise. This will help to increase muscle fatigue and metabolic stress, which will increase muscle growth, which is exactly what I want. Plus, it's an efficient way to use our limited time. I was actually able to do 10 reps here, and then in the last set, I used this same order and still managed to just get those 8 reps in. So then it was time for pendlay rows, another interesting decision from this GPT, putting 2 pull exercises back to back. I want to quickly mention that one of the things I'm really focusing on at the moment is being more aware of my rate of perceived exertion, or my RPE. Now, this next tip is particularly great for anyone who has a menstrual cycle and is wanting to build strength through progressive overload. I'm going to do another video about this because it's a big topic, but in a nutshell, where I've gone wrong in the past is that I was focusing on the load, the volume, and the time under tension for my sets. But I wasn't really considering where I was at in my cycle and also just where my energy levels were at in general. And so I was feeling more spent, but also having less results, which is the exact opposite of what we want, right? To be honest, I wasn't super happy with my pendule rows here. And I think this is really where the GPT suggestions fall down. You see, I'm doing a lot of push exercise and then a lot of pull. But I think I understand the logic of what this GPT is doing. It's looking at my goals and going, okay, you want to improve your bench press by a lot, and you also want to improve your chin-ups a lot. And so both of those things you want to do fresh, like your first push and your first pull exercise. But then it's also going, okay, but we need to go to exhaustion and we need to make sure we're looking at getting in some shoulders with a more vertical press and the lower traps by getting in a horizontal pull. And so it's trying to account for all of those things. As a PT, if I was putting something together for a client with similar goals to me, I'd probably look at trying to get a bit more recovery in for the common muscle groups that are used across the horizontal and vertical push and pull by alternating between the push and the pull exercises. I'll explain what that adjusted time-saving program looks like in just a sec. But first, I need to quickly show you 2 active rest exercises. This is for anyone who is getting wrist pain and pain along the inner forearm. They're probably using their phone a lot. They might be sitting at a desk all day. And confession, I like to play a lot of chess on my phone. Big shout out to chess.com. No, this isn't a sponsorship, but yeah, I totally love it. And I find that being on my phone, even if I'm super conscious of my posture, I do get pain in both of these areas. So this first exercise is a great one for strengthening the wrist. When I first started this, I was doing 0.5 kg weights. This was a few years ago and I was not a gym goer at that point. Then I left it for a while and more recently I started doing it again, but I was still only doing 1 kilo weights when I started. Pretty quickly I got up to 3 kilos and I'll just keep slowly progressing that one. And then this other one is a great one for opening up those muscles in the inner forearm. They are responsible for moving our wrists and our fingers and our hand, and they can get overworked when we're on our phone for long periods of time. To finish off, AI has told me to do some isolated bicep work with some hammer curls. Now, hammer curls aren't something I normally do. I usually would opt for preacher curl, but I'm still glad there's a bit of isolated work in here for my biceps. When doing biceps or triceps, these are endurance muscles, so we want to be doing 12 to 15 reps on this. And just like with any weight-bearing exercise, we want to find that Goldilocks load where we're not losing form, but by that second last rep, we're really feeling that burn and we're just almost at exhaustion to stimulate that muscle growth. Okay, so let's now take a look at that program I promised you. We're going to take it up a notch by having a bit more of a think about what's going to work if you've got less time, and also if you're at a busy gym where maybe switching back and forth between different spaces and equipment is a little tricky. So first off, the bench press at the beginning with the 4 sets, we're going to keep that the same. But if you can, grab an adjustable bench. You'll see why in a minute. The bench press is a great one to start with because there's lots of different muscles involved and it's an easy one to warm up on too. Make sure you put the safety on from the start, and you really don't need to be putting collars on the barbell, especially if you're at the gym by yourself. Stay safe, put the safety on, and leave those collars off. I'd keep these as single sets and work through those active rest exercises we've been chatting through too. Next, I would be doing the pendule row. Reason is you can use the same space, you have the barbell right there, and it's a nice one to switch from. You just did a horizontal press, now you're doing a horizontal pull. You've got the adjustable bench there, so we can now superset this with an incline dumbbell press. If you want to be really efficient, go and grab a set of dumbbells after a single set of the pendule row, and then we'll superset the pendule row with the incline bench, so there's just going to be 1 90-second break in between the first set of 2 exercises and the second. Part of the reason I'm okay to drop one of the sets off the incline press is because GPT has got me doing another upper body session as part of my 4-day split program. I'll explain more about this another time if you're interested, but for this session, we'll still get a bit of shoulder work in there with this adjustment. Now, at this point, all of our upper body muscles are going to be feeling like they've had a decent workout. And there is absolutely a fair argument to be made here for changing this program up and putting the neutral grip chin-up progression at the beginning instead of at the end. But psychologically, I also think there's an advantage to have this as the last compound exercise we do before we move on to more isolated work. What's important is that we have a bit of an extended rest here. So pack up the squat rack area, put the weights away, and have a 2 to 3 minute break. It's also a chance to do a second set of those active rest exercises we've talked through. We want to get 2 sets of each of those in if we can. And then we set up for the chin-up progression, which will be the assisted chin-ups and then straight to the negatives, aiming for 8 to 10 reps, finding that Goldilocks number for the assisted chin-ups where you can get 4 to 5 reps in before regressing to the negatives. I just want to add here, when I first tried to do negative chin-ups, I could not do it at all. I had no ability to keep myself from dropping straight away, and I mean straight away. And so I started with lat pull downs and the assisted chin-ups and worked my way up from there. Banded chin-ups are also a great option, but they do require more setup. So if you're trying to get maximum impact in the least amount of time, this progression I'm showing you is a great option if you can manage those negatives. In terms of isolated muscles, I'd superset the biceps and the triceps and hang around that assisted chin-up machine for a little bit longer. For the biceps, I don't mind the hammer curls, but it does take a bit more concentration to really make sure you're squeezing the biceps and not just using other muscles in the shoulders, the arms, the hips, and the back to get those weights up. Preacher curls or cable bicep curls are a great option here too. But if we've got good form and places to be, simplest thing is to grab some dumbbells and superset assisted tricep dips with hammer curls. Triceps weren't a part of the program GPT gave me, so nothing to show you for this just yet, but I promise I'll get something up about this soon. In the meantime, let me know what you think of this video and tell me if you'd like to see more content like this. This is my first video that I've done filming inside the gym, and I had so much fun making it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.